Somewhere in your life right now, there's a dragon, not the fire-breathing kind, though sometimes it feels that hot. I'm talking about the weight you've been carrying so long it's started to feel like bone. The thing you look back on and realize you've been dragging for 5 years, 10 years, 20. Not dramatic, not cinematic, just present. It wakes up with you. It goes to work with you. It sits in the passenger seat of your life and doesn't say a word. Sometimes they sleep, sometimes they scream, and sometimes, when we are weakest, they reach forward and yank the steering wheel into oncoming traffic. And we don't like to look at the passenger. We pretend the back seat is empty. But no matter who you are, CEO, artist, parent, or drifter, you have dragons in your life. These dragons are your absolute biggest challenges. Some dragons are ancient. They moved in when you were too young to know you were signing a lease. Others are younger. A new addiction you picked up last month. A fear that only sprouted this year. A pattern you didn't notice until it had already repeated a dozen times. But here's what every dragon has in common. You've tried to kill it. We all have. There isn't a person breathing who hasn't attempted to slay at least one dragon in their lifetime. Most of us fail. If we didn't fail, they wouldn't be dragons. They'd be lizards, and we'd just step on them. But these beasts are resilient. Some try once or twice and walk away. Some try 10 times, 100, 1,000. Eventually, the trying itself becomes exhausting. The sword gets too heavy. The fire gets too hot. And something shifts inside us. Not a decision exactly, but a settling, a quiet resignation. We learn to live with the dragon on our back, telling ourselves it's not so heavy anymore. Telling ourselves maybe this is just what life is. We build our lives around the weight. We design routines that accommodate it. We make excuses that keep it calm. We tell ourselves stories about why this is just how things are, not because we're weak, but because the mind is incredibly good at surviving unsolved problems. We stop trying to put out the fire and just learn to cough through the smoke. But what if that's the only lie the dragon ever needed you to believe? Imagine I offered you a box. This box is indestructible. Imagine I hand you a box tomorrow. Nothing special to look at. Wood, maybe, with a small window and a button. Inside that window is a counter, set to some number you can't see. Could be 1, could be 10, could be 1,000, could be 10,000. You have no idea. Here's how it works. Every time you press the button, the counter ticks down by 1. When it finally reaches 0, a small compartment opens. I tell you that this box contains the weapon that will slay your dragon. A sword, the exact weapon you need to slay your dragon. Not a metaphorical sword, the actual solution. The thing that works, the key that fits. The solution to your debt, the cure for your addiction, the map to your fitness. But there's a catch. Every time you press that button before the counter hits 0, a small mechanical fist emerges from the box and punches you in the face. Not hard enough to break anything, but hard enough to hurt. Hard enough that you'll feel it tomorrow. How many times would you press it? Your intuition might say, I don't want to get punched in the face. That's reasonable? No, that's the same intuition that's kept you alive. Kept you from touching hot stoves twice. But think about what this box represents. Think about what it promises. Something shifts the moment you realize 2 things might be true at the same time. First, the solution exists. Second, there's a countdown. If you truly knew, not hoped, not wished, but knew with certainty that pressing that button enough times would cure your deepest wound, end your longest struggle, lift the heaviest weight you carry, would you really stop pressing? Would you walk away after 10 punches, after 100, after 1,000, if you had absolute certainty that the solution existed inside that box and the only barrier between you and a dragon-free life was a finite amount of pain? You would stand in line to get punched in the face every single day. If you genuinely knew that the solution existed and was getting closer with every blow, you might take a break, you might nurse a black eye for a week, maybe a year, but eventually you'd wake up, you'd feel the heat of the dragon breathing down your neck, you'd have one of those enough is enough moments, you would realize the pain of the punch is less than the pain of the dragon, and you would walk back to the box, because it's not the pain that stops us. It was never the pain. It's the story we tell ourselves that there is no box, no counter, no sword, no finish line, that the dragon isn't something to slay, it's just something to survive. Nobody wins at whack-a-mole. The game is rigged, not metaphorically, literally. Whack-a-mole machines are calibrated so the moles emerge faster than human reflexes can process. The carnival knows you'll never clear the board. They're counting on you, believing you almost had it, that one more quarter will change everything. The game doesn't want you to learn. Every time you adapt your strategy, get a little faster, anticipate a little better, the machine speeds up. It's designed to keep you exactly where you started, feeling like you're almost there but never quite arriving. That's what the dragon does too. Every time you make progress, it shifts. Every time you think you found the pattern, it changes. And after enough cycles of this, your brain does something remarkably efficient and devastatingly destructive. It concludes that winning is impossible, that the moles will always be faster, that the dragon was born fireproof. This is the lie that lets the dragon stay. Not the difficulty, not the pain. The belief that there's no number on that counter, that you could press forever and the compartment would never open. But here's what changes everything. What if the box is real? What if every failed attempt, every relapse, every backslide wasn't wasted? It was a button press. What if you've been making progress this whole time, but you stopped one press short? The person who quits at 99 will never know they were one punch away from the sword. Let's assume you've internalized that there must be a way to slay them if you just open the box enough times. What now? How do you keep standing in line for the punch without losing your mind? In real life, nobody goes on dragon quests. The phrase itself sounds absurd when you apply it to Tuesday morning. Nobody wakes up thinking, today I shall venture forth to conquer my social anxiety. We just endure. We survive the day and hope tomorrow is marginally less difficult. But in a video game, we hunt dragons for fun. We grind for hours, days, weeks. We face the same boss 50 times until we learn its patterns. And we don't call it suffering, we call it playing. Think about why games work at all. Why people will spend hours doing things that look repetitive, difficult, even frustrating. It's not because games remove struggle, it's because they measure it. There's a bar that fills, a sound when you level up. There's something almost irrational about how compelling those old Pokemon games were. Why were they so successful? Why is it that we can spend hours grinding through tall grass, fighting the same Pidgey over and over again? It's because of the feedback loop. There is something chemically addictive about that experience bar filling up, the ding of the level up, the text on the screen saying your creature is evolving. That's it. That's the whole reward. And yet millions of people have poured thousands of hours into making that happen, over and over again. The experience bar isn't magic. It's just a visual representation of accumulated effort. It's proof that the button presses are counting down. It's evidence that the compartment will eventually open. And here's the secret that game designers discovered decades ago. That bar changes everything, not the reward at the end. The bar itself, the visible proof that progress is happening even when nothing else feels different. In a game, you always know that the next punch, the next battle contributes to the next level. In life, we lack that UI. We lack the progress bar. But what if you could overlay that interface onto your reality? No matter the size of your dragon, you could theoretically turn the battle into an experience point game. You become both the player and the game designer. Every action that moves you towards slaying that dragon earns points. Every point brings you closer to leveling up. Every level is visible proof that the counter is ticking down. Maybe you can code. Then build yourself an app. A few hours of work for a lifetime of dragon slaying assistance. If you can prompt an AI to build it for you, do that. Maybe you can pay someone to make it. But let's say you have none of that. Let's say you are at rock bottom. You still have a notebook and a pencil. That's enough. That's plenty. Imagine waking up every morning and manually updating your character sheet, You decide on the rules. You are the dungeon master of your own life. Update your points, check if you've leveled up, write down your new total. Don't have a notebook? Keep it in your head. Recite it to yourself while you brush your teeth. I have 437 experience points. I'm level 12. I started at level 1. The compartment is getting closer. If you are trying to lose weight, you don't just try to eat less. That's vague. That's scary. Instead, you assign values. Every day you don't eat a pizza plus 10 XP. Every salad you eat plus 15 XP. Just walking through the doors of the gym, even if you don't exercise, plus 5 XP. Running on the treadmill for 10 minutes, plus 20 XP. You decide how many points earn a new level. You decide the rewards. Specific numbers don't matter. What matters is that they exist, that they accumulate, that they prove the box is real. Maybe the dragon you're imagining isn't defeated by one heroic act, but by a strange accumulation of small, almost boring actions. Not because it guarantees success, but because it changes the story your mind is telling. Instead of "this is impossible," the story becomes "this is unfinished." What you are doing is taking the magic box and painting a number on the front. You are proving to yourself that the punch in the face, the struggle of denying the craving, the sweat of the run, is not meaningless suffering. It is distinct, quantifiable progress toward a level up. It sounds childish perhaps, but look around. The adult way of handling dragons, ignoring them until they burn the house down, isn't working. And you keep cranking that handle. You keep turning it day after day, watching your mental level go from 1 to 5 to 50. You do this until one day the handle doesn't resist, the latch clicks, the box opens. You'll get in your car one random Tuesday, look in the rearview mirror, and realize that for the first time in 20 years, the backseat is empty. One dragon at a time. That's all. You don't have to clear the whole dungeon tonight. You just have to keep pressing the button. That's what slaying a dragon does to you. You don't just solve a problem. You become someone who solved that problem. The person on the other side of the dragon isn't the same person who started pressing the button. They've evolved. They've proven to themselves that the box is real, that the counter does reach 0, that swords do exist for those who keep pressing. And maybe years from now, they wake up lighter. Not because the world changed, not because life became easy, but because somewhere along the way, they opened that box one more time than they thought they could. And here's what happens next. They look around and notice another dragon, one they'd been ignoring or tolerating or pretending was just furniture. And they think, I have pressed this button before. I know what happens. I can do this again. The first dragon is the hardest. Not because it's the biggest, but because you're still half convinced the box is empty. A year from now, maybe 2, artificial intelligence will probably let you describe your dragon in a single prompt, and it'll build you a custom game. Perfectly tailored, beautifully designed, synced to your phone. Points and levels and evolution moments, all automatic. You'll tell your phone, I want to quit sugar, and it will build a full RPG around your diet. That future is coming. But until that technology arrives, it is up to us to build the engine manually. Your dragon is sitting on your back right now. Not in a year, not in 2, now. And every day you wait for a better tool is another day the counter could have ticked down. So start ugly, start imperfect, start with a notebook, or a note on your phone, or just a number you whisper to yourself. Give the button a press, and another, and another. Some days you'll take a break, some weeks, maybe some months. That's fine. The counter doesn't reset, it only counts down. No audience, just you, quietly tracking something the world never taught you how to see, you to understand. The whack-a-mole machine at the carnival, it's rigged. The moles are designed to win. The house takes your quarters, knowing you'll never clear the board. But this isn't the carnival, this is your life. And in your life, you're not playing someone else's rigged game. You're building your own. You set the rules, you decide how many points things are worth. You decide what counts as a level. And unlike that carnival machine, the one calibrated to keep you almost winning forever, your game actually has an ending, a real one. A compartment that opens, a sword that appears, a dragon that falls.